Development coming in from the United States. The U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee has begun its 4-day confirmation hearing of President Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee judge choice, that is Amy Coney Barrett. And in her opening statement in the high-stakes hearing, the conservative judge said that she will approach cases based on the law and not her personal views.
More than the style of his writing, though, it was the content of Justice Scalia's reasoning that shaped me. His judicial philosophy was straightforward. A judge must apply the law as it is written, not as she wishes it were.
Democrats, including Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris, said that Barrett was a threat to health care and equal rights. Concerns have been raised that Barrett may overturn Obamacare.
By replacing Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg with someone who will undo her legacy, President Trump is attempting to roll back Americans' rights for decades to come. Every American must understand that with this nomination, equal justice under law is at stake. Our voting rights are at stake. Workers' rights are at stake. Consumer rights are at stake. The right to a safe and legal abortion is at stake. And holding corporations accountable is at stake. And again, there's so much more. So, Mr. Chairman, I do believe this hearing is a clear attempt to jam through a Supreme Court nominee who will take health care away from millions of people during a deadly pandemic that has already killed more than 214,000 Americans.
Barrett's confirmation would give the top court a 6-3 conservative majority that could lead to rulings rolling back abortion rights, expanding religious and gun rights, as well as upholding voting restrictions, among other issues. She has been nominated to replace late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The Democrats maintain that the nomination should have taken place after the November 3rd presidential election. Now, Jagrati Dave is still with us from Washington, D.C. Jagrati, I'd like you to weigh in on this news development as well. The first day of confirmation hearings for President Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett featured plenty of prominent speeches. In fact, many have called it more of a political convention, many of them aimed at next month's presidential election rather than the nominee herself. So tell us a few highlights that stood out.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying earlier, really the coronavirus pandemic was one of those, the criticisms for the hearing being held in the first place because of the pandemic and that COVID-19 had affected some of the members. The Republicans, the committee chairman, Lindsey Graham, said that they were in adherence to CDC guidelines. Republicans are obviously attacking the Democrats' objection, saying that it's politically motivated. The Democrats are under fire from Republicans for their claims that they would pack, for court packing, that they would, if they won the election, pack the Supreme Court with their own liberal justices, something that Senator Kamala Harris avoided answering in the vice presidential debate last week. This hearing, was very much on partisan lines with, the Democrats making those criticisms in that clip that you played out, saying that Amy Coney Barrett and her background and the fact that she is a conservative-leaning justice, they claim that it would put issues like the Affordable Care Act, Roe v. Wade, the issue of abortion rights, gun control, all of these would be would be changed because of Amy Coney Barrett. And the Republicans are obviously saying that this is constitutional to have these hearings. However close to an election, the president has the right to pick their nominee and for that to be confirmed. And, as well as really the issue of healthcare was on the agenda on the first day, the Republicans defending her, Amy Coney Barrett, based on her experience, the Democrats criticizing her for her views. We've got a few more days of this to come.
Right. Now, Jagrati, if you could just sum up for us and our viewers, what are some of the most pressing concerns with the nomination of Barrett in terms of women's rights in America, especially in an election year?
Yes, so Roe v. Wade is obviously that sort of landmark hearing which determines abortion rights, and that is something that Democrats are concerned could be overturned. It's something that Donald Trump has long said in his campaign rallies that he wants to overturn and adhere to perhaps a more conservative bent, appealing to some of the religious voters in the United States. And Amy Coney Barrett is a conservative judge. Democrats say she would vote to overturn Roe v. Wade, that is abortion rights are in jeopardy, say the Democrats. Now, Republicans are saying that, well, they don't know. They can't say how she would vote if Roe v. Wade came up. But Democrats are pointing to her previous positions on abortion rights. So this, in the run-up to an election where the evangelical vote, the religious vote, is very important to President Trump, Republicans are hoping that the nomination, if approved, would perhaps draw back some maybe independent voters who might be considering voting Democrat, but who might have more of a conservative bent when it comes to the Supreme Court, that they might stick by the Republicans. But there's all sorts of issues about, the future of the Supreme Court, the future of the country. If Amy Coney Barrett is approved, she would tip the balance of the Supreme Court towards the Conservatives.
Right. All right, Jagriti, thank you so much for all your inputs and for joining us on this broadcast.